Now here's one by JAMIN David Seah. And he says this: when this same question of evidence, the historical evidence, was thrown at Christianity, and it was thrown in the 1800s, in the 1900s. The Tübingen School in Germany really hammered the Bible. The documentary hypothesis, people like Wellhausen, who came out with historical criticism, biblical criticism as we call it today, and there was lots of criticisms, what we call redacted criticism, source criticism, literary criticism. These were all really created on the Bible. Historical criticism is biblical criticism. It was first foisted on the Bible, and back by 1905, it decimated the church along with Darwinianism, and in some parts of the world, like in Europe, the church has never recovered. Fortunately, since 1905, when it was at its height, we have then been able to respond to every one of these criticisms, and that's why we are able to then bring out and show you and have enormous amount of evidence that supports every one of these criticisms, and been able to answer those criticisms. But anyways, what JAMIN David's saying is this: since the same question was thrown at Christianity, it was utterly unacceptable to have nothing to show for it, wasn't it? In other words, if we're going to claim that there was a man named Abraham that lived in 1900 BC, we better be able to show something to prove that he did live there. And of course, that's where the Mari tablets and the Nuzi tablets and the Mari tablets came into were found, and that's the Ebla tablets, 3 different genre tablets that supported not only the right man at the right place, doing the right thing at the right time, even getting the customs right. That's how accurate the biblical account is of Abraham. But then we were able to find even the names of Sodom and Gomorrah from the Ebla tablets, proving that these cities did exist, though they had always been considered to be legendary. And this has happened right across the board, and that's why I love the British Museum there in London, because we give tours of the British Museum just looking at all the artifacts, the tablets, the murals, the many different obelisks, and these stelas, all of them supporting 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, references to the material that we see in Jeremiah and Isaiah, even in the book of Genesis, showing that the Bible is the only piece of literature where to date there has been no artifact that contradicts a properly understood statement. That is unique to the Bible because we did our homework. So he goes on and he says this: it was thought that all of it was fairy tales until artifact after artifact, manuscript after manuscript kept getting dug up. There is nothing more backed up by evidence than Christianity to date. So what does Islam have to show for its fairy tales, for its stories? And remember, when you look at the Quran, you will notice that many of the stories in the Quran have been borrowed from other sources. We're going to be doing a whole series on all the different sources of the Quran, these stories. Most of them are Jewish apocryphal accounts, and many of them are Christian heretical sayings. And fascinating, the Quran has never really had this kind of test, has never gone through this kind of test, and now it's being questioned for the first time. And that's why JAMIN David Seah goes on and says, Islam, what does it have to show for its fairy tales? Not a thing. Not even one complete Quran by the 7th or 8th or 9th, and I would say even 10th and 11th. We can't find a complete. We don't know when the first complete Quran was actually created, and we'd love to know when the Quran that we have today, when that actually came into being. Early Qiblas did not even point to Mecca, and the great city of Mecca did not exist on any trading maps until the 9th century. In fact, it wasn't even referred to until 741 AD. That's the mid-8th century, yet Muhammad supposedly was living there and was born there in 570 and died just northeast of there in 632. So this is hugely disturbing if you have these kind of problems. Now that's evidence that we're coming up today, proving that much of what the Quran is saying geographically, much of what the Quran is saying historically, is now proving to be fraudulent. And that's why JAMIN David Seah is saying what he's saying. He goes on to say, so basically, ancient trade maps and records don't support the establishment of Islam in the 7th century, or the Quranic manuscript evidence does not support the establishment of Islam in the 7th century. In fact, Qibla direction does not support the establishment of Islam in the 7th century, and now these Islamic coins also do not support the establishment of Islam in the 7th century. So it's not just the coins by themselves, he's saying. when you look at the manuscript evidence, when you look at the archaeological evidence, when you look at the documentary evidence, alongside the coins, the numismatic evidence, all of them show that there just was no Islam in the 7th century. And that's why we're bringing this to the table. And that's why we're making these videos. And that's why we're talking to you. And that's why JAMIN DAVID Seah says it better than I can say it. If none of these are supporting an Islam in the 7th century, then what should be our conclusion? Well, I would say very categorically, our conclusion should be that possibly we need to go where the facts lead us. We need to go with where the evidence is going. And the evidence seems to suggest very clearly, and this is just one nail in the coffin of Islam, it really is only just one nail, there are many others that yet to need to be found, that we are now slowly but surely coming across evidence that says and is giving us the same narrative. Islam is a later religion, possibly begun by Abdul Malik. I don't think he ever knew where it was going to go to when he introduces on the Dome of the Rock and introduces it on the Caliphate protocols and introduces it on these coins, the name of Muhammad, and also the Shahada that Muhammad is amalgamated alongside Allah. So it's because of this that we need to bring this up, and that's why you have these material. Well, we're going to leave that there. These are good. And I want to thank JAMIN DAVID Seah for saying it so eloquently. This is Jay here, still in Florida. Over and out.